Tashdile, and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration condole the demise of former President Pranab Mukherjee. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration praise for Japan PM Shinzo Abe's recovery. Tibetans mark 60 years of democracy, pays tribute to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Xi Jinping's proposed policy direction on Tibet misguided, says CTA President. US Secretary of State calls upon Beijing for dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration condoled the demise of former Indian President Pranab Mukherjee. In a letter to his son Abhijit Mukherjee, His Holiness recalled having had the honor of meeting Mr. Mukherjee on several occasions over the years, most recently in 2016. He noted that Mr. Mukherjee's dedication to public service was consistent over many decades, during which time he held several important ministerial portfolios, ultimately serving as this great nation's president. Offering deep condolences on behalf of the Tibetan people and Central Tibetan Administration, CTA President Dr. Lobsang Singye said, "As India mourns the irreparable loss of a colossal leader, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of India and Sir Pranab Ji's family in this time of grief." Tibetan Parliament Speaker Pema Jungne, in a condolence letter to his son Abhijit Mukherjee, expressed his appreciation to Pranab Mukherjee's meeting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, despite strong opposition by the Chinese government in 2016 and for his support towards the cause of Tibet. The Central Tibetan Administration organized a prayer service on Tuesday this week to mourn the demise of the late former Indian president, and offices were closed for the rest of the day. The former president passed away at the age of 84 on 31st August 2020. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration pray for Japan Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's recovery and praises his leadership. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, the longest-serving Prime Minister of Japan, tendered his resignation due to health reasons on 28 August 2020. The Tibetan people pray for his successful treatment and quick recovery of his health. Mr. Shinzo Abe, as the leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, was instrumental in establishing the all-party Japanese Parliamentary Support Group for Tibet, which is the world's largest parliamentary support group with 93 parliamentarians from different political parties. Tibetans around the world celebrated Tibetan Democracy Day on Wednesday this week. The senior leadership of Central Tibetan Administration observed the ceremony in Dharamshala to mark the historic day and paid tribute to His Holiness the Dalai Lama for the priceless gift of democracy. Addressing the occasion, Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Singye mentioned one of the greatest legacies of His Holiness, that is, his democratic ideals, amongst his countless other legacies.
At a very young age, he was enthroned as the leader of the Tibetan people in 1950. He was in his teens. But 2 years later, he established a reform committee to bring or introduce more egalitarian society, to end discrimination within the Tibetan society, so that the poor, the sick, the old, the downtrodden can be helped and can be benefited.
The ceremony saw the distribution of certificates to the accomplished Tibetan students and a staff for a long service at CTA and screening of documentaries. In order to pay respect for the demise of the former Indian President Pranab Mukherjee, the Central Tibetan Administration cancelled the cultural performances at the formal gathering. London Bureau of Waltham Forest saw Tibetan flag raising on the 60th Tibetan Democracy Day. The mayor of the Waltham Forest, Councillor Christopher Robin, CBE, raised the Tibetan national flag and assured his continuous support for Tibetan culture and Tibet issue.
Our very best wishes to all of you for Democracy Day. It's an important day for us, as it is for yourselves, and we hope that you see Waltham Forest as a friend, you see the people of Waltham Forest as friends, and that we continue that friendship and spread the word for the Tibetan people throughout all of the London boroughs. My best wishes from myself and my best wishes from the community in Waltham Forest. Tashi Delhi.
This is the third year in a row that the Tibetan national flag was raised outside the town hall of Waltham Forest. CTA President Dr. Lobsang Singye refuted Chinese President Xi Jinping's proposed policy directions on Tibet and called it misguided and unrealistic.
They elaborated or introduced major policies and guidelines, but all these guidelines are clear indication that ultimately the Chinese government want to convert Tibet into a Chinese province and make Tibetan into Chinese people. So that's their ultimate goal. So they want to, as they say, challenge separatism in Tibet. But actually we all know that as per the vision of His Holiness Dalai Lama and unanimously passed by the Tibetan Parliament Exile, our policy is middle way approach, which is to seek genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people.
Xi Jinping has laid out 4 key policy directions on Tibet, which include combating separatism and Sinicizing Tibetan Buddhism at the 7th Central Symposium that was held for 2 days on 28th and 29th August in Beijing. CTA spokesperson Karma Chuing expressed concern over Xi Jinping's policy directives on Tibet.
I think this instability, if there are any in Tibet, is because of the repressive and hardline Chinese policy, and this is one thing. And second thing, regarding Tibetan Buddhism, which is a matter of people's faith, it is kind of a joke that you want to, the Chinese government want to infuse communist ideology into Tibetan Buddhism, which is totally different from the Tibetan Buddhist practices.
The 7th Central Symposium on Tibet Works is the CCP's most important forum for Tibet policies. The 2-day meeting was the first such gathering after 5 years. Speaking at a press availability on Wednesday this week, the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expressed concern over Xi Jinping's recent policy directions for Tibet and called upon the Chinese government to enter into dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama or his representatives. Secretary Pompeo also pointed out that the Chinese Communist Party is engaged in a clear and intensifying pattern of bullying its neighbors from the Taiwan Strait to the Himalayas and beyond.
We're also concerned about Chinese actions in Tibet in light of the General Secretary's recent calls to sinicize Tibetan Buddhism and fight splitism there. We continue to call upon Beijing to enter into dialogue with the Dalai Lama or his representatives without preconditions to reach a settlement that resolves their differences.
So much for today. See you next time and have a great weekend.